Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the engine that drives all the action in a really deep, tactical tabletop system, the basic rules of combat. We're going to get right to the heart of how a fight actually works, from the very first move to the final blow. And that's the big question, right? When you've got this wide-open story and suddenly swords are drawn, you need a system to make sense of the chaos. What we're looking at today is a framework that gives you structure, that gives you tactical depth, and makes sure every single action has a real consequence. So, here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the single most important rule in the whole game. Then we'll walk through one combat turn, piece by piece, how you decide what to do, how you attack, how your opponent defends themselves, and, of course, what happens when an attack actually connects. By the end, you'll see how it all fits together like a perfect puzzle.
All right, let's get right into it. Before anyone even thinks about taking a turn, we have to understand the one core idea, the one mechanic that really does govern everything that happens in a fight. This is it. This is the foundation of everything. It doesn't matter if you're swinging an axe, picking a lock, or trying to sweet-talk a guard, it all boils down to this, a success roll. You've got a skill number, you roll 3 regular dice, and you just want to roll under that number. It's a beautifully simple roll-under system that's super easy to learn, but you'll see has a ton of depth. So how does that simple roll handle the absolute chaos of a fight? Well, what's really cool is how the system organizes that chaos. And it all starts with your turn, where you have to make one very, very important choice. Every round of a fight is broken down into these individual turns. First, you figure out the order, who goes when, which is based on a stat called basic speed. Then you get to the most important part. You have to choose your maneuver. This is the one big thing you're going to do this turn. And once you've picked it, you just resolve it. And here are just a few of those choices. You can make a standard attack, or just move. You can even try to do both with a move and attack, but you'll be a little less accurate. Or you can go for broke. You can choose an all-out attack to hit as hard as you can, but you leave yourself wide open. Or on the flip side, you can go into an all-out defense and just focus on not getting hit. This one choice is your main tactical decision for the entire turn.
Okay, so you see how it's building. Let's say you've chosen the attack maneuver. You've pointed at your target, now what? How do you actually know if your attack connects?
And we are right back to that core mechanic. See? An attack is just another success roll. You look at your character sheet, you find your broadsword skill, and you roll those 3 dice. Roll your skill number or less, you hit. Roll over, you miss. It is as simple as that.
But wait, hitting your target isn't the end of the story. Your opponent isn't a training dummy. They're not just standing there waiting to get hit. They get to react. And this is where combat becomes a really dynamic, back-and-forth dance. First up is the dodge. This is your classic, universal, get-out-of-the-way defense. Everybody can do it. It's you ducking, weaving, or just jumping back from a hit. It's your fundamental move for staying alive when you're out of other options. Next, you've got the parry. Now, this is a much more active, more skillful defense. Instead of just trying to avoid the hit, you're using your own weapon, or even your fists if you're a martial artist, to physically block or turn aside the attack. Think of a fencer expertly deflecting a rapier thrust. That's a parry. And finally, there's the block. This one is all about the gear. If you've got a shield, you can slam it in the way of an incoming attack. It's a super direct, really powerful way to defend yourself. But of course, you gotta have a shield in your hand and ready to use it. And this table just lays out those tactical choices so perfectly. Dodge is your fallback. It's always there for you. Parry uses your own skill to turn your offense into defense. And block is just incredibly effective, but you need the right tool for the job. Which defense you choose is every bit as important as which attack you make. So what happens when that attack connects and the defense fails? Well, now we get to the really juicy part, the consequences. We're talking damage, armor, and the actual injury. As soon as that hit is confirmed, the attacker gets to pick up their dice again. Every weapon in the game has a base damage score, and this is where you roll to find out just how hard that blow really landed. But hold on, that raw damage number doesn't just turn into a wound. First, it has to get through whatever armor the target is wearing. And every bit of armor gives you what's called damage resistance, or DR. You literally just subtract the armor's DR from the damage you rolled. This is armor doing its job. And here it is, the final calculation.
You take whatever damage managed to punch through the armor, and then you apply a multiplier based on the type of damage. And this is a huge detail, because not all wounds are created equal.
I mean, just look at this table. It's amazing. A crushing blow from a warhammer that gets through armor does its damage straight up, 1-to-1. But a cutting attack from a sword? That does 1.5 times the injury. And an impaling attack from a spear or an arrow? That does double the injury. This is how the system shows you, mechanically, why getting stabbed is so incredibly dangerous.
Okay, we've gone through a lot of individual pieces. Let's zoom out now and look at the entire life of a single attack, from the moment it's declared to the moment it lands. And here it is, the whole flow. The attacker decides what to do, they roll against their skill to see if they can even hit. If they do, the defender gets their own roll to try and dodge, parry, or block. If that fails, the attacker rolls damage, you subtract the armor's DR, and then apply that all-important damage multiplier to get the final injury. It's a clear, step-by-step sequence that results any attack in the game. And you know, after all that crunchy detail, the source material itself gives us this piece of incredible wisdom. These rules, as elegant and detailed as they all exist for one reason: to help everyone tell a great story. They provide this awesome, realistic foundation, but the real goal is always to have a fun, memorable adventure. So that's the core of it. The whole combat system is really just a series of interesting choices: how you're going to act, how you're going to attack, and how you're going to defend. And every single one of those choices helps to shape the story of the fight. So now that you know the rules of engagement, the only question left is, what choices are you going to make?